I hear VReplication talked about all the time, and at this point, I think it can pretty much do my laundry. So please, Sugu, tell me what VReplication is.
And someone said world hunger.
Yes, world hunger, your homework, your job. Please tell me, Sugu, what is VReplication? Why do I care about it? And what are its use cases?
VReplication was actually something that we accidentally built when we needed to do resharding. We realized that we had to actually spin up new shards, and the new shards had to contain the data from the source. And at the same time, in order to minimize downtime, we needed a way for the source data to be continuously replicated into these target shards. And then when they are all caught up, we do a cutover. The final version of that resharding was pretty sophisticated, because what we figured out was find a way to subscribe to the bin logs that MySQL was generating, and then filtering out what needed to be replayed and where. With something that people hammered in production and was very solid and stable. That's when we realized that this functionality, to be able to subscribe to bin logs and to intelligently understand the data in there and send it to different places, made us rethink, oh, what if we push this one level down and componentized it and built a relational model on top of this. The reason why you can build a relational model on top of this is because the data that comes out of the bin logs is very similar to the data that comes out of the table when you just read the table.
Yeah.
So there is some overlap and uniformity. So what we did was, what if you provided a way of materializing and you express that materialization through a select statement. But the select statement doesn't run on a table, but it runs on the events of the bin log. And a select statement applied on the events of the bin log translates into update and insert and delete based on the events that are coming there.
What you're saying is that I can take information from the bin logs of one table, and I can essentially just have them constantly updated next to another table.
Yes, exactly. This allows you to represent essentially the relationship between two tables as an expression.
Right.
So in the simplest case, it's, just materialize this table somewhere else, which means that the contents of the target table are exactly the same as the source table. Mm-hmm. But you can say materialize it, but exclude the following rows. Or materialize it, or exclude the following columns.
But question, what if you wanted to do something like aggregates? Like, could you do any like aggregation functions on these materializations?
And yes, the answer is yes. It is something that we discovered as we kept building on this model. When we said, okay, materialize just the rows or the columns, because it's a select statement. What would happen if I did a count star? What if would happen if I did a sum? Is that possible? And then we find that, it's actually going to work. So let's do that. So because it's such a core feature, because it is generic, and just like as soon as you add an SQL layer on top of the system, the number of things you can do with it explodes.
Right.
The same thing happened to VReplication feature. And so the number of things you can do with VReplication also exploded. There's like 5 or different, very distinct use cases that have been born out of VReplication itself.
Is there anything that really exists that's similar to VReplication outside of Vitess?
There are some similarities. Like, for example, there are some products that perform ETL for you.
Right.
That export data from a row-based system into a columnar system. So that exists. There is, for example, Ghost, which is GitHub's online schema tool that uses the VReplication-like mechanism, but only for schema deployment. So there are these one-off use cases. VReplication solves all these problems at the core level, which means that all these workflows can now be built on top of VReplication itself as a unified product.